Okay, friends, I'm going to talk to you today about something that has been revolutionary for my education and has made all the difference in understanding, especially understanding classics and gaining a liberal arts education. I've been teaching study skills for like 12 years now, and there are many things that you need to do when you're reading true classics that are different than the things that you want to do like when you're reading a textbook in college. And there are certain skills that are good for skimming textbooks and for memorizing things for a Scantron test. But if you're going to engage in lifelong learning, if you're really going to be someone who understands what principles are and how to find them in what you read and how to have them change your life, if you're going to be someone that reads the greatest works that have been written or just reads really good novels and classics, asking these 5 types of questions is one of the most important skills that you can gain. It's difficult to get much out of a book besides a really nice plot, maybe some thrill. You know, if you're going to read beyond the level of entertainment ever, if you're going to get more out of a book than your favorite parts, then you're going to have to engage in a discussion. You're going to have a discussion with the author, and you're going to have a discussion with yourself, and you're going to have a discussion with others, ideally. And in order to have good discussions, you have to ask good questions. And so in all the years that I've been teaching study skills, especially study skills for reading in ways that are transformational and engaging in lifelong learning, this is a skill that people report back to me that is one of the more difficult skills that I teach and the most rewarding. It changes everything about their experience and what they're reading, and it changes the discussion completely. Because not only is everyone bringing questions and thinking, because when you have a question, then your brain turns on. When it's not a closed-ended, when it's an open-ended question and there are lots of right answers or potentially lots of right answers, that causes your brain to turn on. That's why I always tell people don't ever ask closed-ended questions, because you'll turn people's desire to learn off. So these 5 types of questions I discovered in How to Read a Book by Mortimer Adler, and I've been through lots of study skills books and lots of different, groups talk about different kinds of questions. Mortimer Adler didn't teach these 5 types of questions. He just shared a story, and this is in the old original one that he wrote himself. This story isn't found in the new one. So he was telling the story about something that was happening in his classroom, and they were reading Aquinas, and I think it was on the Passions, and he talks about how I asked him this type of question. And he starts out, and he asks these questions almost exactly in the order I'm going to give them to you. And I have found in teaching them and using them myself and having other people use them and give me feedback, that actually not only should you ask each of these types of questions, but if you'll ask them in the order that I give them to you, it will change everything in your experience. I'm just going to briefly go over, for the next few minutes, these 5 types of questions, but for a more thorough understanding and lots of examples of the 5 types of questions, you can go to thentenboominstitute.com and simply click to join our email list. And when you do that, we'll send you an article called From Opinions to Principles, and it talks about a little bit about the nature of principles, and then it goes through the 5 types of questions and how to use them to identify principles and read in a more principle-centered way. So these 5 types of questions start out with knowledge, just like you would imagine. You want to know what? What did I just read? What is the plot? Who are all the characters? What's going on? What's the argument this philosopher just made? What is this equation I just read about? What is this scientific discovery that's just happened? What is this speech about and who was it given to? Whatever it is you're reading. So you want to answer the question, what? And when Adler does that with his students, they all know the answer. They know what they read. They read it to the level of understanding what they read. And he talks about how our school systems usually do a pretty good job of teaching students to understand what they've read. The next type of question is meaning. The next thing he asks his students is why. Why is the understanding the order of passions important? Now that you understand what they are, you understand what Aquinas said, what does it mean? Why is it important? What's the meaning behind it? And I think, and Adler kind of basically says this, our schools, when we're doing schooling rather than education, often we don't get to why. or we don't care about why, or it's not okay to talk about why, because your why might be different than my why, and then we couldn't, I don't know, have a conversation, or it wouldn't matter or whatever. So we want to know why. Why did this person say this? Why did this character do this? Why? And beginning to explore why will begin to have some depth and some meaning. Every once in a while, when you get a great teacher, great classroom, and you explore why, that's usually when people really have a fantastic educational experience. The next 3 types of questions are almost never covered anywhere. And I've never seen them anywhere else in all of my, research and experience. Doesn't mean they might not be somewhere, they might. But I'm going to give them to you, and they're so, so helpful. The next type of question is a principle-centered question. You could be looking at conscience, natural law, human action laws, human nature laws. You could be looking at worldviews. Anything that corresponds with principles, absolutes. What are the elements of human nature that are at play in what's written here that will apply across the board? I'm looking for things that are going to apply to everyone, everywhere. Whether it's a principle of exercise, a principle of finance, a principle of relationships. People try to deny that there are real legitimate relationship principles that always apply, and yet no one ever gets angry at their spouse for being faithful. Because being faithful is a principle. And people are heartbroken when they're in a committed relationship and someone isn't faithful, because being faithful is part of the commitment process. Telling the truth, getting to know the other person, speaking, loving them by participating in their growth. Those are all relationship principles. So whatever the genre might be, whatever you might be reading about, what are the scientific principles? What are the mathematical principles? What are the, whatever it is. And often you can get there just by simply asking, is this a principle? One of the things that will help you begin to see principles is asking this: what's true here that's true for everyone all the time? And also looking at the quotes that resonate with you. This quote was really meaningful to me. What's in it that's resonating with me, that's making me love it, that might speak to an absolute? So that's the third type of question, is something that's centered around principles and absolutes. The fourth type of question is interdisciplinary. You want to make connections. That's what we're about. And one of the really tragic things in schools often is the compartmentalizing. What I do in science doesn't have anything to do with what's happening in literature or PE, and that is not true. Truth is connected. Principles are connected. And we see things in a more holistic, honest, real way when we make connections. So you can start by making connections to other things you're reading. You can make connections with your real life, with the experiences of others, with history, anything that's interdisciplinary, that's bringing someone else into the discussion. As you read any work, you're having a conversation with an author. You and the author are talking. So when you ask an interdisciplinary connection, you've invited someone else to the discussion. And the more people you invite, the more you're going to learn, because there's more minds that are working together. Does this author agree with this author? And why? And why not? And does my experience, does this person's experience, does this event? And then, of course, the really great value of bringing all those authors into a live discussion with other human beings who can respond back and give feedback is just really where education happens. That's where real learning happens, is in the discussions. And so that's why we want to have book discussions. So anyway, and it'll be easier to ask. You'll have even more interdisciplinary connections going on and really great interdisciplinary questions being asked when you bring others to the discussion with you. But when you go to a discussion and you have these questions, it's so awesome when you have a book club that's been reading things for over a period of time, and then you can connect all these previous readings. Well, what does this have to do with this book? And what does it have to do with this book? It's so fantastic. The last type of question is application. What does it have to do with me? Do I need to change the way I think? Do I need to change the way I'm living? Do I need to change the way I'm treating other people to live in greater harmony with this truth that I've just found? And it's this journey, especially in living a more principle-based way and transforming your life through the power of principles. It's incredible to go through this whole process, first understand what it is and why it's meaningful, and then to look for a principle, connect the principle to ancient China, and then bring it into your own life and change yourself. It's such a key process, and asking these 5 types of questions can help you really literally transform your life, improve your book club, or just simply make your reading much more meaningful and valuable. So those are the 5 types of questions one more time: knowledge, meaning, principles, interdisciplinary, and application. I hope that's super helpful. I hope you'll take it and use it in all your reading experiences from now on, and that it will greatly enhance and improve your experience in the classics, and that it will improve your life. Please pass this on if it was valuable. Check out our blog for other great reading tips and book club tips and book reviews and author bios and all kinds of helps for your journey through the classics. We'll see you next time.